Good morning. I hope you are well. Today's Thursday, July 1st, and we're here for a work session, and as always, we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Frank, can you please take the lead?
I would love to.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Frank. And we're going to get right into our discussion items for today. I know Dawn Thomas is not available, something arose.
Correct.
Okay, so then what, we're going to have Greg Berman,
Yep.
are you going to fit in for her? Okay, the first discussion concerns code revision, matters surrounding changes to Long Island Workforce Housing Act, and it's going to be Hubbard, Rothwell, Thomas, Budenti, and Bergman.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so.
Good morning, Greg.
Good morning.
Here we go.
What we have is a proposed code amendment to codify the Long Island Workforce Housing Act into our town code. Just a bit of background, the Long Island Workforce Housing Act, also known as Article 16-A, was a bill that was adopted by the New York State Legislature on January 1st, 2009. So this is something that has been on the books in New York State for quite some time now. Some other towns, surrounding towns, have adopted it and codified it. What it does is the proposed code amendment, it mirrors the state assembly bill. What it allows for is when a developer is coming in proposing a major residential subdivision or a site plan involving residential apartment units, townhouses, something to that effect, there's provisions in the state bill that give them a, quote, density bonus above on top of what's allowed by the municipal zoning, whatever zoning district it's allowed in. Under the pretense that that density bonus that's afforded by the act is reserved as affordable housing units. And that's defined by there is definitions in our town code in the proposed amendment to define what's an affordable housing unit, who can live in that unit, the processes and the administration as to determine who can live there. That would be done through a lottery system that would be administered by the CDA. So this code amendment is really to get ourselves in line with the Long Island Workforce Housing Act adopted by the state. We are currently, the planning board is reviewing several major subdivisions right now, which would be directly impacted by this, and we really need to codify the act in order to move those projects along. So just the general overview, and I'll give you just a kind of hypothetical scenario. When a developer comes in for a major residential subdivision, the first step in a major subdivision process is getting it approved, what's called a yield map. That yield map identifies the number of residential lots that could be developed on that subject property. The yield map needs to contain certain elements. It needs to contain roadways, areas for drainage, and that basically says what a developer would be entitled to build on that subject property in terms of number of lots. Now, the Workforce Housing Act, as we've codified it, it gives some discretion to the board reviewing the project, whether it be the planning board for a major subdivision or the town board for a residential site plan application. It gives that reviewing board the discretion, after coordinating it with the CDA, to allow for the increased density or to require a payment in lieu of the density bonus. If an applicant and the boards were to agree on a density bonus, it would result in a 10% increase. So hypothetically speaking, if an applicant came in, had a 10-lot major residential subdivision with a 10-lot approved yield map, the 10% density bonus would result in one additional lot. Therefore, they could come in with a sketch plan showing 11 lots with the provision that one of those lots would be preserved as an affordable housing unit. There is a provision which also mirrors the state code. If the applicant elects lesser than the major approved density, they would, in effect, opt out of the Workforce Housing Act, and they would not be required to provide any affordable housing on site. So in other words, if they had an approved 10-lot yield map, if they came in and submitted then a 9-lot sketch plan, they would be coming in under the approved residential density, and they would not have to provide any workforce housing. There are provisions in the code, like I said, being that Dawn Thomas isn't here, there are administrative components to the code, how it's administered, the procedure for the lottery, establishing who can live in these units and under what conditions. So I don't really want to get into that with too much without Dawn being here. But this is just we've been working on this for a while, myself, Dawn, and Anne Marie Prudenti. We're now in a position where we'd like to present it to the board. The first step in moving forward with this, the board reviews the code. If you're okay with its current draft form, we would do secret on it. It would be considered a type 1 action as it does affect more than 25 acres of land within the town. So we would initiate a coordinated review with involved agencies, finish off secret, and then if the board would move forward, we'd go for public hearings.
And Greg, how does this affect the comprehensive plan?
I don't know that it necessarily affects the comprehensive plan. I mean, you're talking about specific development projects. I don't know specifically that it would necessarily impact the comp plan.
It would be eventually an inclusion, correct, Phil?
This is, if adopted, it would simply implement the goals and policies of the existing comprehensive plan, because our comprehensive plan obviously has goals that say provide, adequate affordable housing in the town. This would be one tool to implement that. So it's already in the comprehensive plan.
Okay, and it'll carry on to the next plan?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Jeff, what about projects that are already in the works? Does it also immediately affect them?
Well, so the projects in the works do have to comply with the state law that was adopted. So it's really just putting it on our books. We're kind of in a holding pattern on some of the projects until we get it in our code. Really, we didn't want to move forward, and it's not appropriate to move forward if the town board wanted to amend the code, add in certain provisions. But the existing projects that we're reviewing, the major subdivisions, have already gotten to a point where if the code goes through as it's written and as it's drafted, they would comply in their current states.
But even if the code didn't go through, they're still complying with it because it's a state law?
They'd still have to comply with the state law.
Okay.
It's just there's certain aspects of administration of the law that are not in our code and we'd have to establish.
So a couple of things, Greg. When we spoke this morning, you told me that you guys had worked with Southampton, that they have it in their code. And I did look for it, and I didn't see it under this title. So I'm curious whether they extracted bits and pieces and put it into the different zoning codes. That's something that I would want to look at. Do you know that? Or?
I don't know if they called it Long Island Workforce Housing Act. They may have called it something else, affordable housing or something, but I can get you copies and direct you to other towns that have adopted this.
Right, I just wanted to see where it was in their code. Another thing, and since we're talking about affordable housing, I have asked a few times I think we need to do a affordable housing inventory, and I think it would be nice to have that discussion sometime at a work session, to have a presentation about the affordable housing that we have in our town, the options that we have, a breakdown of what our inventory is. I also think that all of this does tie in with the comp plan. I think we need to, pay close attention that we're in the process of doing a comp plan, although I'm disappointed with the pace.
Okay.
Thank
and
you, Greg.
I think pretty much we have agreed, and we can discuss this further as a board, we pretty much have agreed that affordable housing, we've had enough in this town. I know I've had that conversation with the planning department, and it's something that we know has to be addressed, and we're not encouraging it. If a builder puts in a plan, we will review it, and the whole board will agree if we should move forward with it. And, I agree that it's something that has to be looked at, and we are looking at it at the current time, and we're eventually going to have to make a decision on that, and it will be done through the comprehensive plan, because that's going to be our guide for the next 20 years in this town. And do we have any indication of when we may have this plan ready, or a draft, possibly? Are we looking at a year? Are we looking at a year and a half?
For the comp plan update?
Yeah.
That'll.
We're morphing out of the Affordable Housing Act and now.
And then
into
we're
the comp
going
plan.
in, yes, because it's important.
Actually, we're going to executive session today to talk about the proposed amendment to the contract. We're looking, because of the pandemic, we're looking to move the dates from this year to next year. And I can give you more details about what the contract amendments are in executive session. But right now, we're about ready to launch the new website. We had some technical issues with GoDaddy. And when we launch that, we're going to launch the community survey. And once we do that and get the contract amendment, we're going to start implementing the interactive maps, the Hamlet maps. So things are going to be happening very quickly, very soon.
Okay,
You're going to like what you're going to see very shortly. I had a preview of it yesterday.
yeah.
It'll be nice if we could maybe get an update from them. I really would like to see things moving along. It really has been going at a snail's pace, and I'm anxious to see some of the public meetings begin. And back to I think having an affordable housing inventory would be a good tool for us to have.
Yeah.
I think
I
that
know
would
that-
be helpful for us. I'd like to see that put on a work session and have a presentation on that.
AKRF, the principal consultant for the comp plan update, has been preparing that, so I will get an update for you, and then I can give you a timeline when we can make that presentation.
All right, that would be great. Thank you, Jeff.
Sure.
I'd like to see what the other East End towns are doing for affordable housing, because I know Riverhead has done its part.
We sure
And
have.
then
No doubt about it. Just
And
last
I
thing,
would
Greg,
like to see
Just one
Southampton, East
thing.
Hampton, and
this,
Southold do the
this is,
same.
this agenda item is really just about putting this in, codifying this in our books. And it's basically a mirror image of the state act. Is that,
More or less with certain
Okay.
town-specific administrative
Okay.
components, yes.
You know, and to your point, Tim, in Riverhead, we solve a lot of regional problems. We solve a lot of regional
Right,
things.
well,
So, something
it's
we
time
should
for
look
maybe
at.
some of that to change.
Well, and again, so it is important, worth noting that the way the code is worded, it's not requiring the development of the on-site affordable housing units. There is depending on the board reviewing it, whether it's a town board or planning board, could require a payment in lieu of that density bonus. So that would be an opportunity to, build the town's affordable housing fund, which could be used for first-time home buyers, rehabilitation of income-eligible residents. So it's not necessarily going to result in the creation of additional, affordable housing units.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Any comments? You good? Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Greg. And we're going to move on to our next discussion. Councilman Hubbard and Councilman Rothwell have spent a great deal of time, and I know there's been a lot of dialogue going back. This issue has been an issue of concern for at least 3 years. We never want to go back to the chicken kids, where we couldn't even, they were going to be displaced. And I know that, is he here, Del Pree? I know I've spoken to him within the last year and a half, and finally, Tim, thank you for getting this on board. We have a pretty good system, I think, that's going to be discussed today, and I know that a lot of residents have also chimed in on their own personal time, and Bob Kearns has been also helping to spearhead this, and is
Yes.
your counterpart here?
Monique's
Yeah,
gonna be on
Monique's
Zoom.
going to be on by Zoom.
Oh, she's going to be on by Zoom,
Carol is on here.
and Monique, thank you, I know you put a tremendous.
Carol's not here
Carol
today.
today.
Oh, okay, but I think she was on here, that's why I was
She is,
asking.
but she's not here today.
Okay, so.
This was formulated, Yvette, as you know, through the Business Advisory Committee. And a subcommittee of the Business Advisory Committee, led by Bob Kern, Dean Del Prete, and Monique Parsons, have really put their nose to the ground on this and did a lot of work going through the Chapter 255. A couple of years back, we kind of did a revamp of it, but we learned some things in that revamp, and we almost made it harder to do and harder to apply with the revamp. So I give a lot of credit to Bob, Dean, and Monique going through this line by line and making it more user-friendly, including the application itself for the 255. With that, I will turn it over to Bob and Dean and Monique, and we're going to briefly go through some of the changes that were made. And it's not written in stone yet, but it's really close.
Okay.
So we spent hours on it yesterday again, and I think we've come a long way, and I kudos to you guys for what you've done with this.
so to be clear, these are recommendations that they'll be putting forward?
Correct.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Good morning, men.
Good morning, thank
And
you again.
Monique.
Yeah, I wanna
I can't
thank
think of
you.
something that we put more hours in.
Right?
Yes.
days and days and days.
Yes.
So I want to thank the town board for addressing this, number one. I want to thank the code committee. I want to thank the business advisory committee. You guys spent 3.5 hours with us yesterday.
Yes.
I want the town board to know that we have spoken to all the departments, because this is not, and we represent 27 businesses in the event business. This is not, okay? We took everything into consideration to make this a clear path for not only the town, but people doing events. I want to be clear about that. How we got here was in the previous administration, it was a little bit clunky. They tried to take town events and private events and meld it into one. We brought it to their attention, I don't think, but now, thankfully, we've gotten to the point where that's split out, okay?
Where it should be.
Where it should be, yeah. And it's not onerous. Most important thing about events to any town is it's economic development ability. And when we look at the town square coming, if we do not program the town square, and Catherine, you would know this better than anybody coming from Barry, if you do not program a town square on a weekly basis, it just becomes a hangout, okay? So there are gonna be people that are gonna wanna file applications to do events down there. So that affects not only downtown, but all over town, okay? So with that, tell me how you'd like us to proceed. Go through point by point, or?
I would go through, basically a quick synopsis of what we did yesterday. I mean, it was 3.5 hours yesterday, but
Yeah.
we're not necessarily going to debate these items. It's just bringing the items to the attention of the board right now. And then the board will has this packet to go through.
Okay.
And before we finalize anything, we will hear back from the entire board about yay or nay and what they feel is good and what they feel is not good, so.
Okay, so what I'd like to do then is to, Monique, can you hear us? Monique?
Yes, I can hear you, Bob.
All right,
Hi, good morning, Monique.
Hi,
Thank
good
you,
morning, everyone.
thank you for coming on, and I want to thank you for all your work on this. I know it's been in the making for about 1.5 years with, trying to redirect it, and thank you for everything you do for our town and East End Arts.
so,
Morning, Monique.
so Monique, would you be comfortable just taking everybody through this, quickly?
Sure, so we're walking through the whole 255.
Yeah, we'll go, everybody has a copy of the code?
Yeah,
I think just the changes or the proposed
Just the
changes.
Yeah,
Sure,
just
right.
the changes, Monique, okay? And if anybody has a question to why they were made, we'll certainly answer that.
And this is, where's Devin? This is online, I'm sure.
Yes, it was.
Okay, good.
Just the changes, Monique, thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right, so if you scroll down to page 255-3,
Done.
this is Article 1. We added in end block parties underneath Article 1. Article 1 is really specifically for an event that's going to be held on a town street, and there is an application that comes from the fire chief. It's a very simple one-page application, and the link is there on the left-hand side, right next to 255-3, to find that application if anybody is interested. And then if you continue to scroll following page, we pulled the 255-6 out, density on private property, because it is, again, referencing Article 1 as public property. We put in a little thing in there about the amendment to an application would be subject to a $150 amendment fee, which is also listed somewhere down in Article 2. If you go to the next page.
Monique,
Yes,
I just want you to make reference to the red typing that's on these pages, so the public and everyone who's viewing it knows what the red typing on it indicates.
okay, no problem. There is under Article 2, special events on 255-8. There is a red typing that refers to the purpose and intent of Article 2. We added that in from the BOA's goals, the 2016 BOA's goals. If you scroll a little bit further down on that same page, or if you go a little further down on that same page, we took out some verbiage in here that referred to things that were referred to in Article 1 under public events. Following page.
Can you just go back to the page before? Was Block Party not in there before? Block Party was not required to get a permit, and now they are? But you're saying it's a short
No,
one?
Block Party was always required to get a permit through the police chief, but it just wasn't defined in the 255 code under Article 1. It has always been on the application that came from the fire chief. If you look at when you have a second, if you click on that link on the left-hand side next to 255-3, that will bring you to the parade assembly and block party permit.
Monique, are we talking about fire chief or fire marshal?
Fire chief. I'm sorry, not fire chief,
Police
chief of
chief.
police.
Police chief.
I'm so
Police
sorry.
Applications, all of these applications
Right.
go before the police chief, and they're reviewed by my office, by myself.
But I believe that block party's application is found specifically under the files and forms under the chief of police, not under the town clerk. It may also be under the town clerk as well.
It's into the police.
Yes, they're all filed, the filing point is through the police chief or the assembly.
Right.
The 255s, the
Goes to the
larger
clerk.
events has to go through both. It gets filed with the clerk, and then it gets filed with the chief, and then it takes its process. We talk about it, we ask them to amend it, and then it goes before the board for approval.
So on 255-6, it says not more than 300 persons per acre. That was all taken out? I don't understand what was put in instead of that.
There's nothing put in instead of that. It's because this is all Article 1. So the 255 has two separate articles. Article 1, which is the parades, assemblies, and block parties, and that's the first 2 pages. And the reason why 255-6 was taken out was because that is referencing density on private property and not public property, where Article 1 is referencing specifically public property.
All right, I get it, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. And we were to page 255-6 and taking a look at the numbers under letter A. We referencing to the red writing on the left-hand side, number 5 and number 9. These are trigger points that would trigger the requirement of a filing of a 255. We felt as a committee that this, construction, use of powered equipment, would that, so if you're doing simple construction on your home, would that trigger 255? Or sound amplification system, if you have a DJ in your backyard for your child's 5th birthday party and you have 30 people there, is that going to trigger a 255? So we just pulled it out so that there was no confusion. And then the number 9 is portion of the categories that the fire marshal's outdoor public safety plan takes care of. So if you're going to have those things, you have to list them on the public safety plan.
So that's one of these things that was just repetitive through the process?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. At the bottom of that page, we just inserted that red writing on the right-hand side is just the link to find the special event permit application, and just another way to find it. We thought that it would be useful if it was within the town code itself. If you go to the next page, 255-9, number 1 through 3. So we pulled out the verbiage per calendar day and added at any one time. And we did this because the main concern should be the infrastructure, and can the infrastructure handle it? Now, on the updated application that we created, we do have on there where it states that how many people are to be there at any one time and collectively, so that if there are things that need to be addressed, such as one of the discussion points where toilets need to be emptied mid event, we would know that if we had a specific number of people that we hit collectively, whereas any one time was more concerned about the traffic, the parking, and the bathrooms as well. And the application fees, we did suggest putting them in there, but then after some discussion, I think the town is better suited to have those fees taken out of the code and just have them set by resolution every year for each event permit.
So B1, for small gatherings, we changed that from 30 to 45 days.
Where are you?
Based on yesterday.
B1 on 255-9, and that's based on our conversation yesterday and our conversation with the clerk's office.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go with 45 instead.
Yeah.
30 is just not enough to complete.
So our initial suggestions were 30 days for a special event, small gathering, 60 days for a special event, large gathering, and 90 days for a special event, mass gathering. But, as Bob said, after some discussion with a few different people, 45 days for a special event, small gathering would be better suited for this situation.
Needs to give the fire marshal, police chief time to evaluate it and make their recommendations and then to adapt to them.
Yes. C1, to include the tax map number. So
That's how the town references everything, is by use of tax map number, like the fire marshal will put in the tax map number and up will come any applications for that property. So that's a number we use. So we wanted that kept in there.
So one of the things that we discussed as a group earlier is not only to call the assessor's office if you don't know, but I think somebody brought up yesterday, look at your tax bill.
Right.
So we'll give them guidance when going through the application, through this.
So you're only looking at public property on this? Is that what you're changing?
No,
We need that
it's for public property and for private property.
All right.
The special event, Article 2, would be referencing both.
When it's split, it's individually, it will say for private property or for public property. It does vary. We did separate it out. So there are two different variables for, depending upon which property it's on.
Yeah, you'll see that in the application. I
Right.
think everybody should have a copy. I think we sent those out to everyone.
It's in the code further down.
It's in the code further down. We'll get
Well,
through
we're
this.
gonna have time to look at this.
So anything under letter C here, going down, numbers 1 through 19 are all written information that should be included in the application. So what the committee did was created an application based on all of the information that was listed in C. So now the application matches exactly to the code. So there's not additional questions that aren't in the code or vice versa. And it becomes more streamlined, and it in theory, should be less work for the town to process.
Monique, can you just expand on 19? Because I know that's always been an issue.
Yes, so number 19, certificate of insurance for a special event is costly and non-refundable in all cases. You cannot purchase a certificate of insurance for a special event and have it refunded to you if you do not utilize that certificate of insurance. And depending on the size of your event and the length of the event, you're talking upwards of $10,000, $15,000 for an insurance policy. And if it's not utilized for that specific date, the event organizer could be out that money. And then there are some instances where event companies may have year-round insurance, and their policy doesn't renew until, after they have to submit the application as per how many days the application has to be in. So just so that, we're not making it a hardship on special event companies to get the insurance and possibly lose out on those funds or not be able to obtain it because they don't have the policy written yet for those dates and times for the year. It's just, it was suggested to drop that down to a 15 days prior to the commencement of the event to make sure that everything's going to go through.
And I'll just add to that, that also works with workman's comp. Some people have events that have, maybe spread out over 2 or 3 weeks. And the haunted house is one example. You can't get workman's comp out a year out, for that purpose. I mean, you could, it's just mucho.
So
And
let's-
hold on, let me just finish on that.
Yeah.
I totally agree with this. Tim, I'm ecstatic that this is on here. The application, you have to get the insurance and then wait for approval. So you're almost guaranteeing if something goes wrong and the board doesn't approve it, they're out of that money.
You're done.
We have to protect the public too, and this was the right thing to do here. And I want to thank everybody for bringing that up, because I know it's always been an issue, and you can't expect somebody, I think it's very draconian to tell somebody, go get insurance, spend $10,000, and then we're going to approve your site plan. Your special 55 application doesn't make sense, and I can't comprehend why it was on the books for so long.
We even as a board can approve a 255, but then the chief or fire marshal could raise concerns, and the event could not take place,
Exactly.
and therefore they would be out the money they spent on insurance. So
this
this gives them time
Great
to hold
maneuver.
on that.
It's
So this is a new board. I just want to let the board know that what we did submit to the previous board were surrounding towns' applications, which were, a few pages, basically, and fees, et cetera, et cetera. So they had some kind of metric to look at. Also, this has prevented very, very good event operators from coming into this town. Because it's like they look at this and they go, what is this? Okay, so I just want to bring you up to speed on that.
okay.
We got a text or an email from Starfish Junction.
Yes.
Who's looking forward to coming back out now that COVID is done, so that's
And they're,
a step in the right direction, I think.
absolutely. They're aware of this. He's actually was on this group because he didn't want to come back to, because he's like, I can go to Heckscher Park and do 5,000 people with a 2-page application with Suffolk County. And I've got to sift through this, and he's a great operator. So,
I know Andy for a long time.
yeah.
just gonna say, I do think this should have been last on the agenda today. I'm wondering about C4. So we are taking out the environmental impact study, and what is being done, how are the impacts getting checked? For example, the drag racing was huge.
Well, you asked me,
Jefferson, is that the EAF that replaces that? You're taking out, they're removing the environmental impact study, which, that did come up, Bob, as you recall, that came up when we were talking about the drag racing, correct?
It was discussed, yes, but.
But what is being done instead?
what, I mean, how many events have an environmental impact?
Well, certainly the drag racing has a huge environmental impact, but that, are you?
I beg to
I
differ with,
disagree.
we
I
totally
disagree.
How does
disagree.
it have a
Don't make-
huge
Completely
that's-
environmental impact?
Yes, it does not. It's on a
has no impact.
10-foot concrete runway, and it was clear through the DEC, through the
Yes.
councilman, it
Yes.
is not going nowhere near any of the wetlands. It was, the question was raised by you, and,
Grass
and
is
so,
protected.
and other people, the grass is gonna be protected, and, you just have to, Catherine, stay in line with that. There was none, the salamanders are safe, all the long-ear bats, which I admire, all the, everything that's there is totally being protected. It's not gonna be, there's gonna be very little noise, it's just regular street cars with mufflers. It's, to raise that concern, concerns me.
And to put it in a common form for everyone, you're asking the Live on 25 to prepare an environmental impact statement for their events, it's too much.
Actually, I'm just simply asking the question, and you should understand that when we do environmental impact, when we look at the environmental impacts, it's not just environment, it's, we're looking at traffic, and we're looking at all kinds of things. You should actually know that.
Well,
I do
Jeff,
know
I
that.
was
we
just-
do know
I do
that,
know that.
and we
Apparently
do
you
that.
don't.
All I'm asking is, what checks the impacts? Is that the EAF
May-
that we're using for that? That's all I'm asking.
The
Okay,
EAF
I'm
and
not
then
asking about any particular event, I'm asking about the form.
the environmental impact form, and then also I am on the chain of department heads that review each and every special event application. So there's not an environmental impact study.
Doesn't
There is a
exist, there's no
secret
such
review,
thing.
Right, and I'm
There's no
aware of
such
that,
thing.
we did talk about that night, but I just am confirming that
That's
they'll
why
do
it's-
the environmental
Yes,
Being removed,
impact form is being
doesn't
done.
exist.
and I review every application regardless.
No,
We're
Can-
we're
I'm-
actually
I'm sorry.
calling for that form to be not done, and I'll tell you why. I mean, because you're gonna lose operators. So what you're saying is, and I'll use the town square, because it's right on the river. How many people are not going to wanna do events there if they gotta file an environmental impact study? And I would like to see an example from another town that requires that.
It's not an
And why
environmental
we-
I'm
impact.
talking about the
The
EAF,
envi-
Bob.
Hi.
Yeah, it's an environmental assessment form. It's the short form EAF. Almost all of these special events are type 2 action as an event that's in short term in duration. And I don't want to give, I'm going to use another event as an example. We had the Rugged race proposed at the 4-H Club that was proposing a lot more cars being parked on grass over the sole source aquifer over grass. They're proposing part of the course going through the wetlands. I raised that with the applicant. I copied the board on my review of it. They moved all the course that was going to go through the wetland out of the wetlands. So they had some corrections that need to be made in the EAF. They made those corrections, so I was satisfied with their response.
So that's where it gets caught, is in that form.
That and my review of the application.
Okay.
Right.
It's not
Now,
just, it's not just the
short
form,
or the
it's,
long form could be required?
no,
It's
Uh,
always the short form?
that is correct. Long forms are only required for type 1 actions, and then they're optional for unlisted action. That's requirement under SECRA.
And I'm simply confirming where we check the impacts.
I'm sorry, what was, I'm sorry, what-
I'm sorry to interrupt, can I just,
Yes, Monique?
one thing? So the C4, an environmental impact study, that was actually a misnomer, how it was written in the code. It should have said environmental assessment form, an EAF. The EAF is a 3-page form that is has always been attached to the 255 application. The EAF, the reason why we are suggesting that be taken out completely is two reasons. One reason is that form in totality is extremely confusing to fill out to the applicant. It deals with things that the applicant is unfortunately not going to know the answer to. And I can just give you a couple of sample questions from that right now. Number 5 on the EAF, is the proposed action a permitted use under the zoning regulations? Is the proposed action consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan? And let's see, does the site contain a structure that is listed either on a state or national register? So those become very, very confusing to the applicant and overwhelming. And I can almost guarantee that probably the majority of the 255 applications that come back with an EAF are filled out incorrectly. And simply because they don't know our comprehensive plan and other things. Where Mr. Murphy comes in is number 2, my number 2 reason. He reviews every single 255 that comes through that office. Carol Delvecchio forwards them right to him. So his review alone should, I believe personally, should be enough to say whether or not an event would trigger a type 1 or a type 2 action. And to take the EAF out completely to reduce confusion and incorrect answers. And if there is a concern, Mr. Murphy, it seems that he's been very vigilant to take care of those concerns.
So you're suggesting that there not even be an EAF? Jeff, were you aware of that?
No.
We're not, that's not the recommendation here.
Well, that's what she's saying.
The recommendation is to
the long
pull
form
the
EAF
EAF out.
EAF is
99.
attached to the application.
I know what
to
the
every
EAF is.
application.
I'm very clear on what the EAF is, but Monique was speaking as if she wanted the EAF taken out. Just wanted to clarify that.
That is
couple points.
the recommendation.
Can I
Yes.
just make a couple of points first off? The first thing we're talking about is getting rid of the language which says
Correct.
environmental
Right.
impact
I
study.
understand that.
We clearly have to get rid of that because it's either an environmental assessment form or an environmental impact statement. So, belaboring that issue is kind of,
We need to
should-
move on
should-
from that,
should,
yes, I agree.
Now, procedurally, it's an action. It's an
understand
approval
that.
from a town agency, so there has to be some sort of seeker recital or some sort of seeker review. Whether it's set forth in the statute or otherwise, the seeker law requires us to do it. So, again, the assessment form is gonna be there. There's gonna be a rendering of a decision, whether it's a type 2, unlisted, or type 1, because it's an action. We have to do that. Now, if you just want environmental assessment form in the code, that's great. But regardless of whether it's there or not, we still have to do that. It's required of us. So again, we seem to be getting so drilled down on this point, we're losing focus on the other issues, and I just kind of wanted to get us off that.
Thank you, Bob.
Put in EAF,
No,
but
what I'm trying,
Thank you, Bob.
I fully understood about the language in the environmental impacts study. That came up when we were talking that night.
Right.
You guys were saying that was in
Right.
there. Somebody said that was in there accidentally. I'm just confirming.
I'm not
that
sure
there
how it
has
got
to
in
be
there. I
an
think it
EAF.
might have been just
That's
a
all.
scrivener's error when it got put in and nobody picked up on it until it actually became an issue. But again, we all, I think, are very aware of what the seeker requirements are for us. Anytime we have a permit process, we're approving something other than a building permit, which is ministerial and doesn't trigger seeker, we have to do that analysis. We have to determine if it's type 1, unlisted, type 2. So, again, the environmental impact study language has to come out because it only creates confusion. Whether we want to add EAF or whether we're going to just do it because we have to anyway under seeker, I leave that to you, but I just wanted to make that point.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Bob.
Doesn't matter
Thank you.
either way, really, whether it's in there or not, because it has to be done. What part of what this was, or big reason what was done with this 255 is to get rid of some of the redundancy. There was so many things that were repeated over and over, and they're required on the application, and then they're mentioned again here, and then they're referred to again. It was just like, there was much more gobbledygook in here that needed to be in here. And that's what the committee went through and kind of weeded some of that out. The study never existed, so that's got to go. There's no such
That's
thing.
it.
One thing I do want to touch on that, on page 11, on the bottom it'll say 25511. It's 25510C. And it talks about the last section, the last sentence said, "This section shall not apply to any special event that is held on public property and is open to the public and is free of charge." And it has to do with paying for cost reimbursements for the town, like for police services, police working at the event. We're changing that because, just because it's on public property, somebody could come in and, "Yeah, I'm going to use town, can I use your property?" "Yeah, sure you can, but I need 3 police officers." "Okay, fine, you're going to pay for them." This says they wouldn't have to. And we want to change that because that's not fair to the taxpayers of the town to foot the bill for security, if you will, for the police when it's an event for profit, or even if it's not an event for profit. There becomes an issue, and we've got to address things such as the country fair, the Polish Town Fair, if that ever goes again, because these issues, they have basically been done for free. Alive on 25, the issues are not really included in what I just said because they're an arm of the town of Riverhead. The bid is an arm of the town of Riverhead. Polish Town Fair is not. Country Fair, the argument could be made that they are because they do the profits from that come back to the town in the beautification efforts for downtown Riverhead. So that's where it gets a little sticky, but we just didn't want everybody coming in where, according to this, they could come in, "I'll do it on town property, and I don't have to pay for any of the cost reimbursement that the town has to put up," and that's wrong. So that we did change. In the effort of trying to speed this up a little bit, I think if you go through the rest of them, they are basically verbiage changes. They're in blue, if you look at this online. Most of the blue was verbiage changes and words that had to be changed, whether it was shall or may. And we did that, and I think really unless, Bob, you disagree, or Monique, I don't think there's anything major yet to go over, or left to go over in this report. And I think what we need as a board, we need to take time to read this and go over it and see if we like the changes or don't like the changes, and then we will gather one more time for a final hearsay on the chapter 255 and finally get something in stone.
I agree.
I would like to just make one more comment, Tim, to your last comment about C, the cost reimbursement for a special event held on public property and open to the public and free of charge. So Mosaic Festival from East End Arts also fits into that category. And, I'd like to make sure that the town board takes into consideration the economic development and activity that's driven to different portions of the township because those events take place. And to, be mindful of what those businesses take in when there is a special event that occurs. I know that firsthand that Diggers is packed when there is any downtown event. The pizzeria up near Polish Town is packed anytime that they have a Polish Town Festival there. So it is bringing economic development and activity to the township, and one of the reasons why I believe that this was inserted in there was not only because of the economic driver, but, you know, there's also significant statements to that effect in the 2016 BOA, the Brownfield study.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
So I'm happy to, if we're going to come back to this, I think this is taking a little longer, and we have other things on the agenda. Aside from, I would like to have time to read over all of this.
Right.
And look over
Yeah,
all
we
of
all are.
these, time talking, and look over all these changes, and then maybe Jeff will explain to you what an EAF is.
I know exactly what it is. You're making assumptions. Yeah, it's just,
Oh, my God.
It's
Wow,
not the wording
that's-
that's written in there, it said impact, it was
it's
very
an
clear to
impact,
remove
but you know what? This is not the time for this. We need to move on. The meeting is going. I just want to ask one more question. Bob and Dean, how long have you been working on this project?
It's been.
I know you're
with-
laughing.
I mean, over a year, and.
Well, prior to that, because I spoke to you about 2
That's
years.
the- This
Actually, I'm
version.
sorry.
That's
since-
this version.
Since it
That's
was
this version.
adopted. and
When did I speak to you about this? When you showed me the graph?
Before you were in office. It was 2
Before I was
years
in
ago.
office.
I showed you the document that we
Right,
prepared.
you showed me the graph and we agreed on it. And then things went away with the chicken kids, this should never happen, and I'm happy to hear that we're moving away from such a draconian effort here in town, and we're making it more friendlier, we're streamlining it. I think it's a great effort, and Tim, yes, definitely, let me know when you want to put it back up. Everybody has time to work on this, and let's move on to the next discussion. We do have a lot of people who've been here waiting, and I'm sorry it took this long, wasn't supposed to take this long, and we're gonna move on again to the next.
Supervisor, can I just say a
Sure.
thank you to Monique and as well as
Yes.
Bob Kearns, because Monique has worked countless hours on this.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that was stalled in the code revision, and I'm glad that Tim and I picked it up and met with them right away, and to get it here on the floor out of code revision to town work session is great. I think they're thrilled about moving forward with this, and I think we're gonna have a lot more events, based on the great work that they've done. So I thank you all individually, you've done great.
Well, I want to make one comment, and I really want to thank you for bringing it to the code committee, because engaging with stakeholders is what made
Critical.
this thing happen properly. Because however this was done, and I know, Catherine, we addressed this back in 2019, I would love to see anybody who thinks it was good code fill out the application and then tell me what they think is good code. Not just make it this thick and go, here you are.
Well, it was made at one point, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
that thick.
No,
It was
it-
changed, and
No,
it
now
failed.
we're,
Now we're back, and it has to change.
We need to attract people that do events. You're not gonna get somebody like these immersive art shows come in here and go, are you kidding me?
It was, and remember the size? One application was 26 pages, and you compare it to Southampton,
Our
it's 3
application
pages.
is 25 pages right now, and we scaled it down. I think you all have the copy in our recommendations, but
It's 5 the way we have it.
it's 5.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank you
so
very-
much.
thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, Monique.
Thank you. Have a good 4th of July weekend.
Oh,
And
you too.
Our last discussion, we have Jeff Murphy and Greg Bergman, to introduce a new application to us, and I also understand that he has Greg DeRosa from G2D with us, Chris Kent, the attorney on the matters, and it concerns matters surrounding a site plan on 205 Osborne Avenue, which is a mixed-use building, and gentlemen, can you please come forward?
And while they're coming up, I want to make a statement. The Ethics Board requires me to make a statement each time Mr. Kent brings a new application. I don't believe I've made a statement on this prior, so I will make a statement that Mr. Kent is my ex-husband. We've been divorced since a very long time, and I do not profit from any of his dealings in any way financially at all.
Good morning.
Morning, Greg.
How are you? Greg and Greg.
Oh, is it?
We thought you
Mr.
might want us to
Kent?
leave, but the code discussion before.
I know.
Yeah,
I
it was,
said, it's like,
It's a
that
test to
was
see how
bad.
patient you were.
That thing could actually go on for 3 or 4 hours.
I know.
It doesn't have to, because we're streamlining, it's gonna be streamlined, right? Yes. So it's not gonna go on for 3 or 4 hours. So, anyway, again, gentlemen, thank you, and I did get the opportunity to review your project, which is, thank you, Greg, because as the planning liaison, you know, I see the planning department is moving forward quickly on some stuff, and I'm here for you to present to the board and to the residents what you have.
You want us to start, or Greg, you want to go through your staff
I can
report?
kind of just
Yeah, can you
outline
give
the
us a
staff
briefing?
report, give you
Thank
the
you,
gist of
Greg.
the proposal.
And by the way, congratulations, you're gonna join the institution of marriage.
Oh, thank you.
Real soon.
Thank
You got engaged, was it this weekend or last
Yeah,
weekend?
last weekend.
Let's
Went
give
to,
him applause.
yeah, I went up to Macca's Vineyard and spent some time up there, and it was good.
Well, Matt, you're already picking up the accent.
Cape Cod, you know?
Yeah, in one weekend? Okay,
All
again,
right, so-
congratulations.
Thank you. All right, so, planning department's received a site plan application proposing to demolish an existing vacant building and construct a new 5-story, 50-foot tall mixed-use building, which includes ground floor offices and conference rooms, as well as amenity space for the 39 upper floor residential apartments. The apartments on the 2nd through 5th floors consist of 4 studio units, 27 one-bedrooms, and 8 two-bedroom units, as well as a rooftop patio for residents of the building, along with related site improvements including parking, lighting, landscaping, and drainage. This is the first application that the town board is reviewing that's been submitted under the newly adopted Railroad Avenue Overlay District, which was adopted by the town board in January of this year. The Railroad Avenue Overlay District allows for increased development density on parcels with a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet. Right now, the 2 parcels, they are 2 separate tax map parcels. They are proposing to merge those 2 parcels, which would result in a lot size of 20,974 square feet, thereby qualifying for the provisions of the overlay district. Subject parcels located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Osborne Avenue and Court Street. It's located in the DC3 zoning district and the Railroad Avenue Overlay Urban Renewal Area, which places the site plan review under the jurisdiction of the town board. The site's currently approved with a single-story building previously used as the MRI building. Property shares its western boundary with the Riverhead Free Library, and its northern property boundary is shared with the parking lot for the library. The Suffolk County Historical Society is located across Court Street to the south, and there's a Town of Riverhead parking lot located to the east across Osborne Avenue. Pursuant to SECRA, the application is a type 1 action as it involves new residential apartments in excess of 20 units. As such, it requires mandatory coordinated review among involved agencies. I do have a resolution on to classify the action and initiate coordinated review at the town board's next meeting. Now, the negative declaration which was adopted for the Railroad Avenue Overlay District was based on a secret analysis performed which contemplated a theoretical build condition scenario for properties within the overlay district. That's located in Town Code Section 301-151.11b. Properties contemplated under that secret review that are consistent with the thresholds utilized in the evaluation will benefit from the adopted negative declaration. Do note that the project does comply with the base thresholds for development. They are seeking a community benefit. They are electing to opt into the Town of Riverhead Parking District. The community benefit within the overlay district allows for obviates them to provide on-site parking for the non-residential uses. Although I do note they did provide a parking calculation on the site plan. If they were to provide on-site parking for all of the uses, including the residences, as well as the ground floor office space, they would require a total of 39 parking stalls. They're currently proposing 35 parking stalls, so they're really only 4 parking stalls short. This is not a significant threshold. Overall, the site generally complies with the adopted SECRA. So we would
Especially with a huge parking lot right across the street.
Correct, and that is one of the provisions that's required in the overlay district, that they be within a quarter-mile of available town parking, which they are. Therefore, the reduction in 4 parking stalls, being that they are going to opt into the parking district, is not a significant variation from that adopted secret neg deck. They do require some variances for front yard, side yard setbacks. Proposed parking stall size is 9 foot by 20, where code requires 10 by 20. and some other things dealing with vegetation, vegetative buffers, and there are some accent lights proposed on the building, which do not comply with the mounting height or the dark sky compliance. So they have been issued a denial letter. They will need to go to the zoning board for relief on that before the town board can act on the plans. The site plan does propose a two-way, 24-foot wide driveway to access the site on Court Street, which would serve as ingress and egress. And they propose a eastern curb cut, 16-foot wide, which would serve as egress only onto Court Street. The building facade consists of whitewashed brick, black metal panels to screen the ground level parking garage, white moldings, black storefront panelings, black wrought iron Juliet balconies, and black window frames. The plans will be referred to the ARB for their review and comments. One thing I did note during a site visit, that the site is mostly cleared of existing vegetation with the exception of some large caliber trees located on the site's western property boundary. Based on the location of the existing chain link fence, it appears as though these trees are on the subject property. Staff would recommend that these trees be preserved in order to keep that vegetative buffer between the western property boundary with the Riverhead Free Library. And there is an existing vegetative buffer on the northern side of the property, which is seen in Figure 4 on page 6. Based on the existing conditions map, it looks like that vegetative buffer is located entirely on the Riverhead Free Library's property, and as such, needs to be preserved during construction. In terms of the development standards for the Railroad Avenue Overlay District, it requires 6-foot wide pedestrian walkways. Right now, the site plan shows 4-foot wide pedestrian walkways along Osborne and Court Street, that they can be easily revised to show 6 feet. It does not show any pedestrian lighting along the street frontages. However, there are some building-mounted lighting which are proposed on the building, which could potentially serve the purposes of illuminating the public walkways along Osborne Avenue and Court Street. With regards to parking, there is a provision in the overlay district that says the parking shall be sited to the rear of the building, away from the street frontages when possible. The site plan currently proposes parking along the western property boundary and some covered parking along the northern side. I do note that it says when possible, so this does give some discretion to the reviewing board to modify or waive some of those requirements. They do propose a rooftop access patio, approximately 700 square foot rooftop patio for use by the residents of the apartment, which will be accessed via a small rooftop lobby with elevator and stairwell access. That proposed rooftop lobby would be set back approximately 17 feet from the facade, so it would not have a significant impact on the scale or massing of the building on the streetscape. They're proposing trash dumpster in the northwestern corner of the property. They do propose LED pole-mounted lighting and 13 LED wall packs. As I said, they do need variances for the heights of some of those fixtures. Otherwise, they generally comply with the requirements of the town's exterior lighting code. The project is located within the boundaries of both the Riverhead Water District and the Sewer District and proposes connections to both. They'll need Town of Riverhead Highway Department permits for new curb cuts and any work proposed within the right-of-way. We are going to refer to plans during the secret process. We'll refer them to the New York State DOT based on its proximity to the East Main Street and Court Street intersection. They may need to just adjust some timing on the lights, but we'll refer to the DOT for their comments. And all the other involved agencies, the Planning Commission, Health Department, PSEG, National Grid, referrals to those agencies will be handled during the secret coordination period.
Mr. DeRosa, this is not going to be affordable housing, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is
Thank
market
you.
rate.
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to make one
No,
announcement.
I was talking. So
Can you hold on a second?
Sure.
I just want to, it's not related to this topic. I just got a text, if anyone hears loud explosion, it's the Suffolk County Police Department. They're demolishing a tremendous amount of fireworks, and they expect it for us to hear it, and it should be over by 2 o'clock. So it's just an interruption of the announcement. Go ahead, Catherine.
Did you say the size of the apartments? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, there was studio, 1-bedroom,
I
and
know what kind they are, but I mean the square footage of the apartments.
Typically, the 2 bedrooms are over 1,000 feet. The ones typically tend to be between 900 and 950, I would say, and the studios tend to be around 700. Is that close? no?
Yeah,
Pretty close?
upper it's for the ones, 1150 to 1190 for the twos, and the studios are
No three-bedroom.
681, no.
No.
No, these are all smaller units, so,
That's perfect, because that lessens the amount of children.
right, we're not looking to generate any children.
and
We're not
if-
expecting to generate many children.
Right, and if it's a lower, if it's a moderately priced, you're usually gonna get young professionals, young families, people who just got married and are starting off, so, that's a good approach. Anyone else?
What size did you say the studios were, 750, did you say?
Studios are 550.
Are you finished?
For now.
Okay, so I just wanted to make a quick comment. We had a press conference not too long ago, a month or so ago, when the TOD zoning was laid out, and I did not expect investment in our township so quickly. I am really happy to see this. I think this is a great idea. This is certainly a blighted area, and this is exactly what this was intended for. So thank you for bringing this to us.
And, Donna?
I'm
Okay, you have to double check, you're a little sensitive today, I don't know why, but it must be a full mood. Anyway, Greg, can you expand on your projects? I know you have similar projects throughout Long Island. I know you're a top company, everything that you touch turns into, it's very, very successful, and I just want to hear it. I don't know of your projects, I know that they do exist, so just enhance,
I'd be happy to, I mean.
great. If you want to speak a little louder,
Sure,
because they need to hear you in the mic.
Most recently, we
Uh-huh.
are developing and currently building a project right now on Main Street in Riverhead next to the aquarium. So that's one of our projects. And while we were developing that project, we,
They're telling me up,
oh, okay. So most recently, we developed and are currently building a project at 331 East Main Street next to the aquarium. During that process, we located this property and thought it would be a good fit and a supplement to what we're already doing out in Riverhead. We really like some of the things that we're seeing in Riverhead. And that coupled with the fact that this is in an opportunity zone, we intend to be here for a very long time. Outside of that, we've done projects in Huntington Village.
can I just add to that before you move on to the next project? We just recently, Riverhead, the town of Riverhead, and I was gonna make an announcement, so this is the perfect opportunity. The town of Riverhead from Vision Long Island has awarded that project, the Smart Growth Award.
Correct.
To Riverhead.
Yes,
And it's, are you aware of Vision Long Island, anyone? You want to expand on it, what it means?
What Vision Long Island, they are look to create pedestrian, development of residential uses, mixed uses in pedestrian-friendly areas with access to public transportation, to lessen the impact, vehicular impact, traffic impacts of development, and to have them located in areas that will create vibrant downtown areas.
Perfect.
for-
Yes.
Across diverse age categories.
And they reviewed 40 locations throughout Suffolk County, and they selected 6 locations, and they selected Riverhead. So we are the owner of the Vision Long Island Smart Growth. And they look at all those components that you spoke about, and ensuring that it's going to be a prosperous project. And so I just want to make that mention and
Yeah.
let the public know, because it's nice to have an award from an outside entity to say what you're doing is smart, and it's called Smart Award. It's smart, it's the right thing to do, it's for the people, you're working together, and congratulations, Riverhead, for getting that award. All right, good.
So, yeah, we were honored to receive that award. We received a similar award for a project that we did in Hicksville, close to the train station. So, that's pretty much what we do. We do smaller, mixed-use apartment buildings. We like to consider the projects best in class. We spend a lot of time on the architecture and the interior finish, because we hold on to our projects and manage them for a long period of time. In Huntington Station, we built a project, again, close to the train station, that consisted of 64 apartments. And in that project, which I'm happy to report, went into partnership on 5 of the apartments with the Elijah Foundation to provide inclusive housing for folks with disabilities. So, because it's something near and dear to my heart, and it's a section of the population that is, in my opinion, kind of been pushed to the side. So anytime we have an opportunity to engage with the community, and we do that. So other than that, there's a project that we're doing right now in Roslyn on the water, which we're also very excited about, and a couple other pending smaller developments that we're targeting. So.
I've seen his work in Huntington.
Have
It
you?
is very nice, yeah. It was a nice addition to where they went, similar to Riverhead, where it needed some upgrading, and it really did do that, and it served a purpose as well.
And Frank, just to expand on what you said, it's great. There's a tremendous amount of interest in both, in the town square and the TOD. So the town is coming together, and it's great to see that people are having faith in us.
The town square is would be an awesome addition, and really something that would help accelerate the growth and the revitalization of downtown Riverhead.
And we're in agreement. I think the town square, we feel the town square is going to transform our downtown area. And it's going to provide something that the people of Riverhead have long needed, which is a gathering place for people from all the hamlets to come to. Just a couple questions on your building. And I mean, I will say I'm happy to see something going in there. That's a long blighted building with a lot of issues, I know that. I will say, though, I'm a little disappointed on the 5-story because it is between the Historical Society and the library, which are, beautiful buildings in our town. Is there a setback on the 5th floor?
Can I
Yes.
just comment on
Yes.
that for a minute? So, the building was much taller, and we worked really, really hard to get it accomplished all in 50 feet. So even though it is 5 stories, it's not your typical 5-story height that you may see elsewhere. So, and I'm really proud of our architectural team and our design team that they were able to come back with a solution and allow this project to proceed. Not so much Chris Kent, he didn't have any.
I never did that.
He didn't add any value to the project, but the architectural team, they actually did.
Can we talk a little of the history, though? Maybe I should give a
And
little
so
bit.
and so did planning,
Absolutely.
and so it was, so I get it, I understand where you're coming from with that, but I also want you to be aware that it is 5 stories, but it is only 50 feet.
And it's also zoned.
Correct.
4 or 5 stories.
Correct.
We have the zone in place.
But I can understand, height is always an issue where we go and how we develop, so it's always a concern. So we try to be mindful of what's around us and be sensitive to those needs.
Right, and yeah, I mean, we do have the zoning in there, and I wasn't totally against having more height because in the train station area, it's just that for your building, I brought it up because it is between the Suffolk Historical Society and the library. So that's why I brought that up.
I
And I
understand.
had asked about the setback on the 1st floor, and I think one of you guys was
Fifth floor
gonna
is a
answer that.
setback. Maybe we could,
I mean, the
maybe,
5th floor.
if I could just give maybe a little history. We
Yeah.
made an initial submission to the town planning department on March 3rd.
Okay.
With plans that were prepared that we thought were consistent with the zoning that was adopted in January by the town. We received a staff report on March 19th with a lot of comments and recommendations. We took those back, we worked on them for quite a bit, then we came in and met with the planning staff and with Dawn Thomas and with Tim Hubbard on May 12th, and went through all of the comments from the prior staff report. We made a lot of revisions to the plans. The buildings, we decided then to have the application not exceed any of the thresholds that were adopted in the overlay zoning for the Railroad Avenue corridor. And so that allowed us to be, we could rely upon the secra that was completed for the adoption of the overlay zone. So we don't exceed any of the thresholds. That would allow us to move forward without any determination of, it would be determined that there would be no no significant impacts to the environment as a result of not exceeding any of the thresholds adopted at the time the zoning was put in place.
And the possibility of that being a much taller building could have happened.
Right, I know that.
With Jefferson
Right.
and the planning, the pre-planning meetings we had, you guys were very cooperative, and you went back, and like you say, your architects went back and presented a project that was both viable for you to be able to do, but also acceptable to us as a town for what we think should be there.
In addition to that,
appreciate
we
that.
set back the fifth floor, and we
Yes.
revised the rooftop patio area, the deck on the rooftop, minimized the size of the structure on the roof, and set back lost one of the units, took out one of the units, set back the fifth floor to create a terrace, a balcony over the corner of Osborne and Court Street. In addition, when the discussion of parking being visible, it's very difficult to not have parking visible when you're on a corner lot that fronts on, two different streets. So so if possible, in this case, it was not possible to have no parking that's not, we couldn't have parking that was not completely invisible from the street, because you have two streets. So we did the best we could. We're providing a lot of on-site parking. We're providing 11 on-site parking for non-residential uses. When your zoning permits no park, we could go up to 0 parking lots for non-residential uses. We are providing 11 for non-residential uses. So we made as many revisions as we could based upon staff comments in the initial staff report, and coming out of that meeting, a very productive meeting I thought we had on May 12th.
I do too. One thing that wasn't mentioned that I think is a big plus is your office space underneath. You're talking about having office space that's going to be available for people to go and conduct business without having to have the overhead of their own office year-round. And that's very popular across the country. And in light of the pandemic, I think you're going to be really successful at that, because a lot of people are not going into the city to their main offices. Businesses are cutting back, letting people work from home, and you're going to have areas for them to go where there's IT, Wi-Fi, internet, everything that they could need in an office. Copy machines, I assume. Meeting rooms. 20 West Main Street did the same thing, and that's hugely successful. So that's a great idea. I really appreciate you putting thought into that instead of just saying, we'll throw a coffee shop in there or something. It was
Thanks for saying
good thinking.
That started in Hicksville under a company named WorkSmart, which I also am involved with and own. And so now we have the Hicksville location, Huntington location, Huntington Station, and then the hope is to put an additional location in Riverhead to connect the island. So if you were a professional and you wanted to have a meeting with somebody in a conference room, as part of your membership, you would have access to all those different locations to service your clients. So it's worked pretty well, and it really is a small business engine, because in addition to providing space, the company also provides marketing and website hosting and all other things that small businesses frankly don't have time to deal with. So I'm excited about that.
And being on Court Street, the proximity to the courthouse.
Exactly.
Will attract lawyers and court reporters to use the space.
And I do like that idea. I will say that came up many times in our downtown meetings. That is a new idea that a lot of people are using, so I do like that. And just to go back real quick to the height, I do know that what the zoning is there, of course, but I think the fact that, I'm mentioning that it's between those two historic buildings, well, the library isn't quite as historic. I think that will come up within the community as well. One other thing I wanted to mention, Greg had said there wasn't pedestrian, and by the way, Greg had given me the history too. Greg had told me that you guys had already done some revisions to it, so I was aware of that. On the pedestrian lighting, it would be nice if there was some consideration for some kind of pedestrian lighting along there. That can be done there because there just have been issues about safety, and we are trying to, create a walkable downtown where people feel safe. Oh, one other thing, I thought, the only thing about this is the timing, because we just put together a committee and we are moving forward with that committee are looking at projects. I don't know if you guys are aware. They are looking at TOD projects for the, we got all the RFQs and we have a committee that are looking at those projects. So I think they really all should be tied in together. So the timing would be if it was a little after when I know they're making their decisions on that. I think that would be helpful. For example, you did talk about the parking across the street, and I think that might change. I think they're going to be, they're looking at that area, that's all.
And so one of the really great things about having an office tenant, a tenant like WorkSmart on the first floor, is that the parking requirements complement each other. So when people go to work or they leave their apartment for the day, that's when the office folks come in. So from a parking standpoint, I think the site is really pretty on point, and we're not going to have a parking issue. And I can speak to that from prior developments that we've done and operating and understanding how our tenants use the building. As it relates to, and I don't know if you're insinuating holding the project up or delaying it until another committee had a chance to review it, but that's something that would be painful
Jeff,
for us.
Can you come up?
To now have to go to or get involved with another committee to discuss property that we're really not developing.
I'm just saying, communication, it would be good to have communication on that, because I know
it's
they
good.
are looking at what's being developed over there. So you're saying that you may not even need the parking across the street anyway,
Correct.
because the way
Correct.
your schedule works.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
And your
I'd like
proximity
to-
to the railroad in each of these towns and projects, it seems to be
Exactly.
what you're looking for.
I'd like-
Looking for that rail to office, rail to apartment area, so I think that sort of speaks for itself.
I'd like to just counterpoint her point is that I think your timing is perfect. I think
It
we
is.
need to go right now and move ahead. You're willing to invest in our town and create a better tax base. And it's a well-needed project for a Blythe building, and I think it's an excellent project. Go ahead. I don't think there should be any delays on this.
We're really
I
looking to
don't
set
think
the
I
standard.
suggest, just
We're
let me
really looking to
clarify.
set the standard for
It is
what
a standard.
that should look
It's a
like.
And when they
Sports
see
day.
this project, more people will want to invest around that
And-
project
and
and close
every-
with it.
Yeah,
Yes, it is
Catherine,
a ver-
Yeah.
I didn't mean to insinuate that you were suggesting
Yeah, I'm not
stopping,
actually.
but
Yours.
what I heard, which I may have misheard it, was that it sounded to me like there was another committee that was involved in the main parking lot, which was an RFP that we looked at as well. And we think that that's a wonderful thing for Riverhead, but we want to stay separate from that, and we want this project to succeed on its own merits, if that's.
That's so business,
One of-
that's how it's supposed to be. When
One
you
of the
deal-
main emphasis
of
of the
business.
TOD is to provide additional parking.
Right.
So
Exactly.
parking's not going to be an issue.
And I'm not suggesting delaying. I'm just
Okay.
suggesting that it's always important to tie it all together. I mean, we're trying to tie the downtown
I
and the
understand
train
that,
station,
yeah.
and they are looking at all of that. And I think, communication and a tie-in with that is
I mean,
important.
we'd be happy and delighted to work with them in any capacity, just like we'll work with the library to make sure that, if we move forward, that construction does not impact them in a negative way, so.
And that's normally an approach that you take on any project.
Yeah, we're
You
doing
need
it
to
right now with the
Look at your
aquarium.
environment,
Exactly.
it's not, doesn't
Exactly. And
operate.
by the way, the aquarium has been amazing to work
Good,
with.
yeah,
Just
it's
amazing.
a standard SOP, whenever you take on a project, to look at your environment, to reach out to everyone involved, your neighbors, reach town, reach the board, and that's a process that's gonna take, and we do have a great committee, and they know that this project is going forward, and this is the first presentation on this project, it's new here, and you'll be hearing from the committee, and I thank you for agreeing to be open and reaching out and communicating with everyone, and it's the way that you run any project.
Well, and I mean, it's my understanding that when we discuss a project in the work session, this is where we bring up and we ask more questions.
Yeah, of course.
You- We have it's great that you guys are here and we're able to talk, and if I have concerns and issues, this is where I'm gonna bring them up. It's better to bring it up early than to bring it up later, so that's exactly what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
thank you for being the first to come in and jump on our TOD.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank
That's
you.
huge.
Yep.
To get this started, to kickstart it with somebody like you and your organization, with the work you're doing downtown already, we really appreciate it.
This is going to have a snowball effect all
I
across
agree.
the town.
I
so,
agree.
Yep.
I really hope so, because I think River Head's a great place. And we want to be here for the long term, we really do.
We all think it's a great place, too.
Are you
Yes,
coming,
we do.
are you coming back next week with your project across the street? From this one?
It takes a lot of money and time to get one project, so we're aware. Again, smart decisions, smart move, smart thinking, engaging the community. We're excited to work with you. And everyone out there, Riverhead is moving forward, and thank you for the great job.
Thanks for your presentation.
Excellent.
Beck. Yep.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
You need this pass?
Oh, yeah.
All right, this concludes our discussion items for today. And, I'm going to ask Devin to please come forward and read the resolution for today, please.
Okay, everybody ready?
I am. You guys ready?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Resolution number 1 rescinds resolution number 2021-414. Number 2 appoints a part-time account clerk. Number 3 ratifies and accepts the resignation of a detention attendant. Number 4 appoints a detention attendant to the police department. Number 5 appoints temporary office assistant to the recreation department. 6 appoints seasonal park attendants to the recreation department. 7 ratifies the appointment of seasonal recreation staff to the recreation department. 8 ratifies and accepts the resignation of a part-time police officer. 9 promotion to senior account clerk. 10 accepts the retirement of the building maintenance supervisor. 11 terminates a part-time employee. 12 appoints a part-time maintenance mechanic 1 to the seniors program. Number 13 accepts the resignation of the cultural affairs supervisor. Number 14 accepts the retirement of a senior wastewater treatment plant operator 3A. Number 15 appoints an assessment clerk. Number 16 awards bid rehabilitation of plant number 10 steel ground storage tank capital project number 9 Riverhead Water District. Number 17, Water District Plant 10 Storage Tank Rehabilitation Budget Adoption. Number 18, Highway District Budget Adjustment. Number 19, Bell Tower Heritage Area Landmark Sign Budget Adjustment. Number 20, ratifies authorization of the town clerk to publish and post for rebid for disposal of town-generated construction and demolition material. Number 21, ratifies award of bid for additional concessions vendors at town parks and beaches. Number 22, amends Town Board Resolution number 2021-419 to increase the adopted budget for capital project number 52104 by authorizing the use of additional funds in connection with improvements to the parking district. Number 23, the Shipyard Capital Water Project number 82112 budget adoption. Number 24, 860 Laundry Capital Water Project number 82108. Number 25, Water Capital Project number 81853, 452 Main Road closure. Number 26, 2021 CHIPS Road Resurfacing Grant. 27, 2021 EWR Road Resurfacing Grant. 28, 2021 Pave New York Road Resurfacing Grant. 29, awards bid for removal and disposal of sludge cake and grit screen waste. Number 30, Round 15 Downtown Revitalization Grant Project number 44035 budget adjustment. Number 31, authorize posting and publishing notice setting public hearing to consider amending Chapter 231 of the Riverhead Town Code relating to private fire service mains and hydrants. Number 32, authorize publish and posting notice setting public hearing to consider amending Chapter 231 of the Riverhead Town Code relating to tent permits.
Devin, can I just pause you for a minute? I just want to thank Fire Marshal Craig Ziditz here. He's worked really hard on this for an extended period of time on both the fire hydrant inspections as well as the tents. And so I just know that he's put a lot of time in here, so I just want to thank you, Craig, for everything you do, that we're finally on track here.
Yeah, finally.
Getting
For
up to
9
date.
months, this was allegedly up and nothing happened, so I'm glad to see
Yes.
that, and I know that it had to be resolved, and thank you for
Yep.
speeding it up.
You got it. Thank you, Craig, for your work.
Yeah.
Okay, resolution number 33, approve special event Chapter 255 application for Jamesport Firemen's Annual Carnival Bazaar, July 20th through July 24th, 2021. Number 34, approve special event Chapter 255 application for Rugged Maniac Long Island. 35, approve special event Chapter 255 application for Long Island Brewing. Number 36, approve special event Chapter 255 application for Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation. 37, approve special event Chapter 255 application for Dark Side Productions, Inc., Dark Side Haunted House Halloween event, October 1, 2021 through October 31, 2021. Number 38, authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement with National Development Council, NDC.
So can we have someone go over this? Do we have someone here? Bob, can you go over what this is so the public knows?
I'm not familiar with it.
I think Dan McCormick would probably be.
Yeah, he
Anne Marie,
has
you
it.
have, Anne Marie might have too, yeah.
Hey, Marie?
So NDC is a firm that works pretty much exclusively with municipalities. And they have expertise in economics, finance, and the CDA director, as well as myself, discuss it with the supervisor and Councilman Hubbard. We have 3 very unique projects coming to light. One would be the town square, the TOD that Councilwoman Kent was just highlighting, that we're in the process of reviewing right now, and also possibly a new town hall. So this company would come in and assist the town and the CDA in reviewing those projects and proposals and evaluating them. For example, on the TOD project, they would evaluate the entities who are submitting proposals for their financial wherewithal to actually fully construct and build it out according to the specifications desired by the town. Also, they research financing options that the town could potentially utilize either on its own behalf or on behalf of a developer coming in to get a better project. So it's really a unique expertise that they hold.
They also work in Brookhaven. I think they've been hired by Brookhaven to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
They have an unbelievable reputation. Suffolk County uses them on a lot of their transformative projects. And for the town of Riverhead, these are really important transformative projects, all 3 of them. So the agreement actually breaks it down at the supervisor's request, and it was a really good call. Broke it down into the 3 different projects, and Dawn and I went back and forth and tried to earmark the appropriate funds under this contract for each of the projects and the tasks that NDC would do for the benefit of the town.
And they have provided, and you did a good job on this, Anne Marie, on the scope of the services. Because it's important to break down the services. If you're
Right.
too generic, you might
Right.
not get substance. And-
Right.
And thank you for following up. I
Yeah,
see you
because
did a
if
lot of
we
work on
don't
that.
require all the services or all the tasks, they're not going to get paid for that.
Exactly.
It's money well spent
Right.
for a lot of money that's going to be spent.
That's
Or
exactly
possibly going to be
correct. I mean, we really do need experts in this area, so.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Thank you. Devin, can you please continue?
Yeah. Number 39, approves professional services agreement with Frameless Technology for the creation of QR-coded signage for a virtual historic trail. Number 40, authorization to retain certified environmental professional to assist the planning board in its review of a site plan application and reverse subdivision submitted by Calverton Tree Farm. Number 41, grants final approval for the site plan application known as Eastern Wholesale Fence, Caps Realty Holdings LLC, located at 301 Scott Avenue, Calverton, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-135.2-1-6.
Did you skip one?
I don't know, did I?
Oh, maybe.
I don't think so.
I think she skipped.
I've been
Yeah.
following along.
Okay. EKR. All right.
Okay, number
Did you do that
42, adopts a local law to opt out of allowing cannabis retail dispensaries and on-site consumption sites in the town of Riverhead as authorized under Cannabis Law, Article 4. And number 43, authorizes an employee to attend hazmat tech training.
This training is not gonna cost us anything.
Correct.
FEMA's picking up the full, cost on it, which is good.
And congratulations to the Landmarks Committee for that signage with the
Yes.
QR code. That's something they've been working on for a long time, and
Yes.
that's a great, great thing to see happen.
And he was talking about it the other
Okay,
day.
Yeah,
Jeff.
he's so excited about it.
Yes.
Jeff, hi,
Greg?
Greg, yes.
So I do have.
Just about to
Greg Scott
close, and,
here.
all of a sudden you're at the mic, but welcome.
So I just wanted to, I did not have time to prepare it previously, but we did have the public hearing for the Island Water Park project a couple of weeks ago. I apologize for being last minute, but I did distribute a copy of a preliminary site plan approval resolution for the board to consider. I know, rather than want to walk it on at the meeting, but I distributed it. I can also email that to you. Would like to get it on for preliminary approval so we can keep that project moving. There are a couple of things that the applicant does need to address, just in terms of emergency access, revising the plans for, DOT, the stuff that we discussed in terms of the traffic impact statement. But I'd like to just get the preliminary approval on so we can move them forward.
All right, so what we are asking is to bring it off on the floor, so we have to, where's Diane? We have to take a vote.
Just add that to the,
Okay.
You don't
to
do that
the
at work.
resolutions.
Okay, all right.
to the
We're
agenda.
just
Yeah,
adding
you're
it to
not-
the.
you're
Okay,
not
you just
voting
wanna
on it
add it?
today.
Okay.
It's just, for your consideration, distributed it. Would like to get it on the agenda for the, I believe, the July 6th meeting.
So that's
Yep.
not a problem. We agree?
Yeah,
You
fully
agree?
agree.
Yep.
You agree,
July
Catherine?
7th, I'm sorry.
We're just putting it in the packet.
Correct.
Yes. Do you agree to put it on the packet?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Correct.
So, Don?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that one then, no more coming off the floor? We're good?
You can make something up if you want.
No, don't make any.
Okay.
All right, so we're good. So we're gonna move on. So this is gonna conclude, the resolutions, and in a moment, I'm gonna ask you to go into, executive session, to discuss the following: our legal matters surrounding pending litigation entitled Carl McVeigh LLC versus the Zoning Board of Appeals et al., Index N 09-0122 of Kasakevich, and matters surrounding the change to an agreement with AKRF, and that would be Kasakevich and Murphy. Can I have a first and a second to go into executive session, please?
Make that motion.
Second.
Okay, who's going to second? A second? Great, I didn't hear you. Oh, thank you. All in favor? All opposed? So moved. Everyone be safe and have a great 4th of July weekend.